Good morning, everybody. It's very good to have you with us this morning on this Engage 24 online event. And I'm thrilled to be with you. My name is Bruce Whitfield, and I understand that there's been an element of controversy. Some people on this webinar, some of our guests have said, how dare you put somebody who is from the Whitfield Property Group in the north of Johannesburg on as your host? Surely that is a conflict of interest. Well, to tell you the truth, I've never met those Whitfields. I've seen their signs. I went onto their website, but they don't put pictures on, so they're clearly not from our side of the family. But maybe they go back to about 1820 when the first Whitfields arrived in South Africa. Then it was just a single woman who lived with a married man and his wife. It's very Jacob Zuma, this story, but bear with me for a moment. I was only invited once to address a dealership conference for Nissan South Africa that is headed up by a man called Mike Whitfield. And I asked Mike Whitfield before the event, I said to him, are you related to a woman called Charlotte Whitfield? And he said, I don't know. Let me ask my father. He did and confirmed it. And he is descended from Charlotte Whitfield, but from another one of her children. This is a very long and boring story. Anyway, it turns out Charlotte Whitfield was unmarried. And in those days, her children all had bastard stamped on their birth certificate. So I said to the dealership conference, if you're wondering who the bastard is who runs Nissan South Africa, it's Mike Whitfield. He didn't smile one little bit. Anyway, I'm also one of those bastards, and I don't know about those Whitfields in the property group, but I understand that this is quite an incestuous industry. So if you're thinking about who they are in the industry, well, maybe there is your answer. Anyway, that's a little wake-up call for you on this Friday morning. It's a great pleasure to have you all with us, and we've got the most remarkable lineup of people who are going to be joining us today, all giving you deep insight into the property sector, into the ownership sector, into the rental market, which is a big focus of today as well. And so we look forward to having you with us. You do get CPD points for being here today. But you do have to stay till the bitter end. And then I'm sure that you have to give samples of your DNA. But yes, you will be getting a certificate of attendance, replacing the CPD points, as I understand it. There are 25 giveaways. 20 of those are books. 10 books of The Upside of Down, which was a 2000 bestseller. Thank you very much. Yes, there we go. The Upside of Down. How to Thrive in the Chaos of South Africa. And then a broader reach in the form of Genius, which came out in 2020. What year are we in? 2022, I think it was. Genius on how to thrive at the edge of chaos. And it was all about how South African companies have succeeded not only in the home market, but have expanded globally as well. And we've got some remarkable success stories of phenomenal South African companies that make waves all over the world. And then there are also 500 Rand Take-A-Lot vouchers as well, just before Amazon comes in and makes their lives difficult. So there's lots up for grabs this morning too. There are lots of giveaways. Winners will be announced after the event via email. We do encourage you to use the chat, use the Q&A bar, please. If you would, we will be keeping a very firm eye on that, making sure that any questions that you have are asked and answered, and we will do that. And I've just been told by my friends at Eskom that load shedding has been downgraded to stage 2, so the risk of you being cut off has just dropped somewhat, so there are no excuses. You can't say, oh, sorry, I was load shed, so I went to go and play golf. But if you do need to go and play that golf game, don't worry, this is recorded, and you will be able to get access to the recording later on if you're worried that you've missed out on anything important. That is the introduction done and dusted. Now for the comedy routine, because you see, 3 fundamentals walk into a webinar. No, that's not really a joke, is it? It's absolute fact. We've got 3 fundamentals for you this morning. We've got Johan, we've got Skulk, we've got Dani. Johan, you will know, is the managing director. He's in charge. I don't know how he herds the cats of Skulk and Dani. We're both directors of WeconnectU as well. And they all 3 are with us today. Johan, I'm going to let you kick it off because apparently you're in charge. Do your brothers let you be in charge, by the way? And the family let you be in charge? Or that make you think you're in charge?
Bruce, thank you for the intro. That's a profound question, and we definitely need a separate webinar to unpack family business. We have, however, said
nothing like a family business.
No, we're not a family business. We are family in business, which is quite a big difference. We're trying to make that happen in our business. But yeah, thank you for this morning, and we look forward to host today with the team.
I hear there are lots of Sicilian families and families in parts of New York that are very, very similar. But anyway, let's get on to it. Tell us about Engage and why today.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce. So WeconnectU is on a very clear mission to help create more valued and valuable property managers. Today, we have the privilege to offer our property management ecosystem to more than 1,600 clients nationally, managing over 800,000 properties. So with this really good client base, we feel as a company, we have a responsibility towards the industry, but we cannot achieve ambition alone. So Engage was designed to bring industry experts together to engage, to help educate, equip, and inspire the industry on this journey to become a more valued and valuable. And that is hopefully what we're going to achieve today.
If that is the mission, we shall succeed in the mission. What are we going to be doing, Skulk? What are we going to be doing today? There's a cast of thousands involved. It feels a bit like a West End production. Just all we need is now is hopefully nobody to break into song. But how's it all going to play out?
Bruce, we're going to dive into property management, focusing in two key areas. One being community management, overseeing body corporates and HOAs. And then we'll also look at the other area, which is rental asset management, focusing on residential and commercial property. And we're going to look at stats, trends. We've got as you said, a great panel of experts to help us to equip, as Johan said, educate and inspire our audience. And our goal is, like Johan said, very clear. We can't shape the future of property management on our own. And with this awesome audience with us, we hopefully will do it together.
Fantastic. Donnie, I need to know from you, please, about impact and how you're going to achieve all of this, because you've set a mammoth task today, and you really have. Because over the next couple of hours, we're going to have about 40 people contributing. So how do we get impact? How do we actually make sure that everybody's time is well spent today?
Yeah, morning, Bruce. Morning, everybody. That's a great question, Bruce. And we're up for the challenge. It's something we thought really hard about. And it actually took us back to our days when we were property managers ourselves. And there were just so many moments where we felt like we wanted more time to work on our business, more time to innovate and plan. I think it was Albert Einstein that said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing but expecting a different result. So with that in mind, we thought it'd be great if we can create this event where we bring industry together and share content, share thoughts, share ideas and trends, and get industry to just sit back and engage and think about their business and strategically how to position themselves going forward. All right, so how will it actually practically work? All right, there's basically two phases to this. Firstly, we're going to look at the external factors. And this is where we look at the market. There's a couple of sub-questions to ask under the market section. So what is the overview of the market? What is the typical services rendered? How big is the market? Is the market growing? What is the legal and compliance impact on the market? And what is the going rate for solving the problem? So that's all market-related questions, and we cover this obviously both on the rental and on the community management side. Then also still external, the competitor side of things, questions to ask there is who else is trying to solve this problem? How are they trying to solve the problem? Are they quality or quantity driven or both? And is it even possible? What makes them unique? What is the unique selling proposition? And then lastly, what is their pricing strategy? From a client perspective, we need to ask, for whom are we trying to solve the problem? And do they actually understand the problem? And sometimes the client are part of the problem. And the question has to be asked, are they part of the problem? Client section really important because obviously the client is paying the bills. So a very important section of our presentation. And then lastly, stakeholders. And the question here is, who do I need to collaborate with to solve this problem? All right, so once we've analyzed the external factors, we should really understand the problem very well, which then brings us to the solution, and that is the internal factors. Now, we all know a business ultimately is a promise to solve a problem at a profit. All right, a business is a promise to solve a problem at a profit. So here we're going to look at three questions, and that is, what is going to be my value proposition? How will I deliver my value proposition? And once you've delivered it, how will I communicate this value? Because we all know that value not communicated is value not perceived. So that's the planning process. And then the goal, lastly, before I hand back to you, Bruce, is for the audience. Find one thing and do it 100% better, or find 100 things and do it 1% better. But better we have to be after today. Thank you, Bruce.
I love that last point. Thank you, Donnie. Don't go too far away. I'm going to need you again in a moment. But that thing about taking micro steps and improving one thing a little bit every day, or 100 things, one step every single day. Chatting to Adrian Gore, the founder at Discovery, and I said to him, what is it that makes Discovery great? And look, everybody's going to have an opinion on Discovery, and everyone's had a fight, I'm sure, with Discovery. But you can't argue about how the business has grown and how it's gone stratospheric over the last 30 years. And he said, we make small infinitesimal gains each and every single day. Each day you don't notice that there's been a difference, but you look back 6 months and you go, hold on a second, but we were there and we're now here. And it's that issue of continuous improvement. And it's something that we forget about in South Africa, where there are so many failures all around us all the time, particularly the huge frustrations that all of us feel around state failure, whether it be the collapse of Transnet, whether it be the collapse of Eskom and many, many other state-owned entities, and how South Africa has largely become a dual economy of a privatized elite, which is able to afford private services, and the vast majority of people who are not able to afford those services. And in the property sector, of course, you've got to serve everybody. And that has become a very difficult thing to do in a very chaotic, very unsupportive and very difficult environment. But it is the subject that I've been focusing on for many years in terms of the work that I've done in writing the books. And I'm actually engaged in a project right now with the Gordon Institute of Business Science. I've got two professors who are going to be helping me. And we're looking at what is it that makes South African businesses thrive in a dysfunctional environment. And what can we teach as the Global South, or part of the Global South? What can we teach the Global North? Because you know the term, Donnie, you know the term, ha-ka, here-ka, here comes big trouble. It's a translation. And we're used to dealing with trouble all the time. It's inconvenient, it's uncomfortable, it's awkward, it's difficult. But I think we've learned better than many parts of the world how to thrive at the edge of chaos. And it takes a huge amount of resilience, a huge amount of patience, a huge amount of ingenuity, and often a vast amount of capital in order to do so. And therefore, it is quite a complicated environment in which to trade. But many other countries are going that way. Many other countries have hit sort of peak of production. We're not seeing the GDP rates going up in the same way as they were. GDP per capita in many parts of the world is falling rather than rising. We've got aging populations in much of the developed world. They've got pension crises looming. All sorts of things are coming their way that South Africa's had to deal with already to a greater and lesser extent. Also, around the world this year, about 3 billion people are going to be voting in elections, or eligible to vote in elections, including South Africa, including the United Kingdom, including the United States. And we've seen the first of those elections this year take place in Pakistan. And it's really, feels like there's a lot to play for in the world this year. And when you're in business, of course, in such a volatile and uncertain environment, it can be absolutely petrifying. One looks at the polling that is coming through in terms of the South African election cycle, and it seems very, very clear that the ANC is going to lose its majority. And that leads to a whole bunch of conjecture as to what sort of alliances are going to be struck up in the aftermath of the election. And there's a huge amount of backroom dealing going on. People I talk to sort of quietly tell me that every single political party has got back channels going into Luthuli House and is looking to do deals with the ANC, which knows that it's not going to hold on to its majority, but is desperately keen to not let go of power. So somehow there is going to be a very messy set of coalitions after the election. And we know that coalition politics in South Africa has been fraught with infighting and all kinds of difficulty. So it does mean that your customers, all of your customers, are going to need the calmest and coolest heads available to them in order to keep managing their businesses. You're going to need to be cool when you manage your business, because What we do know is that crises pass, but so do gallstones, and so do kidney stones. I'm told kidney stones are incredibly painful things to pass, but once they pass, they pass. And we're going to go through a period in South Africa, I suspect, for the next couple of years, of an extraordinarily complicated, very noisy, very cluttered, very contested environment. And it is going to take leaders of exceptional quality, particularly in the private sector, to just, there's a poem by a guy called Rudyard Kipling. It's called Desiderata. And if you can keep your head about you while all about you are losing theirs, and this is, again, this is over 100 years old, then you will be a man, my son. Well, maybe we'll modernize it for the 21st century. Then you'll be a good human. But yes, keep your head about you and all about you are losing theirs. There's a fantastic author called Hans Rosling who wrote a book called Factfulness. And he challenged people to focus on the facts of the environment around them, not to get caught up in the hype, not to get caught up in the disinformation, the misinformation, and the noise. And he said you can't make decent decisions if your mind is overwrought by fear. If you're worried about the environment around you all the time and you're panicking about the environment, you can make bad decisions. If you keep making good, solid business decisions, good basic principles, then you will outlast the clutter, the noise, and the havoc that may or may not transpire as the year progresses. But rest assured, we in South Africa are not the only ones who are going through an election cycle, and we're not the only ones frightened about the future. There are lots of people who are absolutely petrified. Anyway, Donnie, enough from me. Let's go back to two industries, please. There's the community management industry, and then there's rental asset management. I want you, please, to explain to us where we're going on agenda point 2 today.